All right. Welcome to those of you who are present with us and anyone watching this later to the Whale Road Review Staff Celebration reading. We had such a good time at our 5-year anniversary reading last month, so we thought we would keep the party going. And it's fun to get together and just see some of the people who are reading submissions and editing the journal. I just got to meet some of the peer reviewers face to face who I've only corresponded with in writing. So I'm really looking forward to getting to hear all of the people who are reading today. So some of the peer reviewers are people who are my friends from grad school, or I've met them at conferences, or a few of them are my former students. Some of them were absolute strangers who sent me messages and said, hey, could I read for your journal? And some of them are our former contributors. And I love that this wonderful mix of people have come together, and I think we've created something really beautiful, and I'm really proud of the issues that we've curated together. So we're going to get started. The way that this is going to go is each person is going to read one piece of poetry or short prose. Just to keep things moving quickly, we're going to introduce ourselves, at least with our names and where we are in the world, since we're spread across the US and also internationally. So we're going to begin now with Michael.
Oh, I just forgot that yeah, I just forgot, sorry. Yeah, okay. Michael Akuchie, reading from Benin City, Nigeria. I'm excited to be here. I'm a former contributor, and honestly, it's been an honor to read for Whale Road. Really, it has been. Okay. I'm actually reading now. I'm reading now. Yeah, I'm reading now. Yeah. Okay. So, the poem I'm going to read today is my newest poem. I wrote this poem while having a conversation with one of my close friends. Yeah, the title of the poem is I've been smoking weed for the past few months. Because the incense of flaming grass has been my survival. Alone in the room, my naked back plastered on the wall, sweat streaming. I walk a mound of grass into a sheet of rolling paper. Music swims through the room. Lana Del Rey's High by the Beach, a cherry wish made possible now by mist. My lips repeat the ritual of sucking in the universe, even for a torso of time. Stars pull in my head. I am every known God.
That was absolutely beautiful. My name is Taylor. I am coming from just outside of Chicago because it's a whole lot easier to say that than try to describe the suburb that I'm in. The title of the poem is Mindlessness. They say a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but my mind couldn't be any fuller. Well, maybe just a little fuller. If I were a little more mindful of the bird, that oily puddle, that hurried swaggering suit, that exhaust mixed with old rubber smell, that bus, oh God, that horn was loud. Maybe I'd mind a little less if I weren't minding my own business and your business and his business. Maybe if I could just be mindless and let the bird, the rain, the suit, the smell, the bus, everything just pass through my mind like clouds in the sky or leaves on the wind or people in the city or cars on the street, then maybe my mind could finally just be at peace. Thank you.
Alan, are you frozen?
Yes, but I've just become unfrozen. Sorry about
Okay.
that. Okay, hi
That's all right.
everyone. just a slight moment of freezing. I am Alan Culpepper, and I am coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma, which may or may not be in the world, depending on your point of view. It wasn't in mine until I came here. But I'm going to read for you a poem that's actually from a series of poems about local places of worship that I am working on for another presentation that I'm doing. And I thought maybe you would enjoy this one. So it's called An Apparition and a Refuge. It's one of those buildings that everyone has seen and many have noted, but hardly anyone can locate. Even those who pass it daily on the local streets hesitate when asked precisely which one it's on, exactly what it's called. From the highway, only the cupola and the spire are visible for fleeting seconds, like an enigmatic vision, an apparition, like Juan Diego's sighting of the Virgin. Appropriately, for it is the shrine of Nuestra Dama de Guadalupe, merged in the 90s with the parish of St. Francis Xavier, aka Azpilicueta de Navarre, co-founder of the Jesuits, perhaps a little too disciplined, but smart and strong, missionary to India. And as the Virgin improbably spoke in Diego's native model, so are its many masses said in Spanish as well as English. Its red tile roof and tapered bell tower evoke the Spanish colonial mission, though its walls are of yellow brick, its facade, stained glass, and flat buttresses, a bit more Baroque perhaps, a less ornate version of what the missions themselves did their best to emulate with limited resources. Outside, the midday sun beats down on the tiles, but the interior offers cool tranquility. White-walled nave with central aisle, roof beams of oak reaching down from the apex to the walls, extensions from them bearing hanging lanterns. Up high, arched windows, pictorial, below, smaller double stained glass panels. Between the windows, the Stations of the Cross. The nave's beauty resides primarily in its simplicity. The relatively ornate altar in its sanctuary keeps its distance. And though I'm no Catholic and have my reservations, it's the kind of place in which one could, I think, take refuge.
Thanks, Alan. I think I'm next up. I am Jen Stewart Fueston, and I am coming from the Boulder area of Colorado. And I'm going to read a piece that actually Katie helped me with in a workshop this summer, as well as Sally, who I think I saw in the attendance. So this was one of the only things I managed to produce in the last year. This is called The Mother. The mother is a house coat. You put her on, walk in. You wear her, but she is not you. The Mother of God said yes once, and her body parted like a dressing gown to let him in. Now we hail her like a taxi cab to carry us away. The mother is a boat made of skin, gilt as an icon. Every mother's face, smooth as glass, holds a votive you light to pray, seamless and eternal. Always a receptacle, the mother is empty. A snake skin, a paper gown on an exam table, legs in the air. A child inside you is inside the mother you're inside. Mother is a dress you cannot try on before you buy her, pulling her over your head like a blue sheet. As a field of white snow is sometimes blue, nothing to behold but its translucence. The mother is a pocket. The mother is a well full of blood, a ladle dipped into her belly. She's a cup and a bowl you bring to your lips when you're hungry, her body a feast you carry. She gives it and you break her open.
Sorry, my name is Katie Hamblen, and I live in Nashville, Tennessee, but I am currently in Rock Island, Tennessee, where we don't have a signal, so I am in a Dollar General parking lot. And this poem is a short poem inspired by my son. He and his twin sister are 4, and they're starting to get interested in what it means to die. So this poem is called Where the Dead Go. Through the car window, we spy red, orange, purple bunches of fake flowers dotting rows of headstones at the Nashville National Cemetery. Up the road, my son remarks, I don't want to die, and from there it's unstoppable. The font of, I don't want to be cold. I don't want to go in the hole, and it's been building to this, hasn't it? Since we lowered our dog into the ground, explained that only fur and bone remained, the spirit gone to romp the sky. This is what becomes of the ideas that burrow into the brain's fissures, the endings we all must live with, the loneliness that must be reconciled. I'd be lost, he says. I couldn't find you.
I think I'm next. Okay. Hi, I'm Ellen Huang. I'm in San Diego. And the poem that I will be reading is called A Romantic Jesus, and it's coming out soon with Miniskirt magazine. And A Romantic is one word. So, A Romantic Jesus, never meant to show signs at a wedding, always meant to save until later. But oh, how it made his mother smile when the clear water overflowed into rich red wine, when there was abundance, a renewal of flowing fountains. It was there that celebration came to be. It was there, between beloved creations, beloving each other, that he saw such love up close in real time. He was there drinking his fill, miracles no longer waiting. A romantic Jesus retreats from the crowds, holds fast to faith and solitude, refills his cup before greeting the fishermen, takes a shaky breath at the speed the crowds find him, hail him, press up against him, how fast they will befriend, and then how fast they will go. How fast the romance calls, the love of the way things are, how fast he holds them, regards them. Dear people, how quickly it all goes. Oh, to stop the rivers of time, to drink the drink from emptying, to command stillness from the tempest, and sleep in this boat, gently rocking. A romantic Jesus walks the straightforward path to the well, sees the beautiful Samaritan woman he knew before she was woman born. How she stares with startled, skeptical eyes, how she puzzles over his proximity. How their voices soon exchange into bridges and gateways and the natural reaches of light, heavenly organic light. Through her, he confirms, humans indeed have hope. Through her, he finds himself. Later, they gawk as if he'd forgotten the rules of their journeying. I have food you know nothing about, he says, not missing a beat. He never forgot the rules. They forgot the goodness. A romantic Jesus wonders, not regrets, but wonders. If he had chosen to come formed into flesh that would respond, into a body that felt the pull of the tides into sparking favorites, would he have more time then? Could he linger, cling to the earth longer with all the trivial hormonal distractions, loving one and then another, unfocused on the world? But he so loved the world, and he so loved his kin, that here in the fields under the stars, while foxes have their dens and birds their nest, he had nothing but his eternal love, nothing but his soul and the world, and a cup not taken from him. A romantic Jesus looked at them and loved them. the late night whispering against midnight chill with questions of old, the earth-smudged souls resting, alive in flowering fields, their created splendor, the men who dared drop their nets to follow, the women who dared against all question to touch him, the wilderness, garden, and city as one. He breaks the bread, sobering. I have food you know nothing about, feeling the chill in his throat. This is my body broken for you. He cannot himself heal. This is my blood spilled, anticipates the solitude. Take it. The piercing, tumultuous, passionate starvation of remember me. Love to come. This is my body. He tries to ground this moment, to nail it into the history of the world. Thank you.
All right, well, that was wonderful, Ellen. My name is Monica. I'm reading from Manhattan, Kansas, where I am earning my master's in English literature from K-State. So I am happy to be here. I'm happy that I'm able to join you all. Today, I will be reading just a 5-minute excerpt from one of my longer short stories. And it features 2 sisters. Their names are Harper, she goes by Harp, and Grady. And just to provide some brief contextual information, the younger sister, Harp, is pregnant. So there will be some references to her belly. So here we go. I ate all the fish we had left. That's how she did me, Harp in all her fishiness. Her melon belly hurt against me when we hugged, and beyond her shoulder, the silo home in its white porch creaked. Overturned apple crates stood along the home's curved exterior. Her 1-year-old daughter, Sella, rocked back and forth on a crate closest to the porch. She wrapped her pudgy hand around Mrs. Overwet's index finger, but the woman did not watch her. She stared at us from across the weed patches and stood stiffer than Grandma would when she'd wait on the slanted porch. Grady, I want to tell you a fun thing, but Mrs. Overwet says that we need to wait until after lunch, Harp said. She managed a younger look each time I visited. The belly filled out her crisp black pair of overalls until the swell cast a shadow over her feet. Her light hair wound itself into some ponytail bun hybrid as though she tried to look like Mama in her younger days. Well, I have to tell you a not so fun thing, I said. And why do we have to wait for Mrs. Overwet anyway? Since when does she get to decide when sisters talk? My mouth still tasted sour from the amount of times I rehearsed how I would tell Harper that Mama died last year. She killed herself behind a neighborhood steakhouse in Fort Worth. In Fort Worth. Harper, I am so sorry. She just ran across the 2-lane highway and traumatized the young woman whose tires cracked her skull. I didn't feel much of anything, but my housemate Landry watched my face as I spoke to the officer. I apparently stared at my fingernails before a long cry. The officer had grumbled something about a picture of me nestled in Mama's back pocket. Whenever I tried calling Harp, Mrs. Overwet answered instead. She spoke with such a tightness in her voice that I lied about my occasion for calling. No, I did not want to smother Harp's happiness with this news and leave her buried with images of Mama's twisted bones. And besides, I could have sworn Harper did not remember Mama, at least not the one who dragged her across the carpet. Harper always asked about Mama, even if I slapped her with a mechanical answer. Grandma raised us. She didn't treat us too well either. I want more fish, Harper said, itching her belly. And if you would just live with me, we wouldn't have to keep up this back and forth. I just got here, I said. Her droning did not actually bother me. Her voice held the sweetness of a little girl licking syrup from between her fingers. Take my bag, it's light. And why does Mrs. Overwet look Amish or whatnot? Who died? Don't be talking that way about her. She helps with my Sella. Don't walk away when I'm asking a good question. After Mrs. Overwet's husband died a few years back, she rearranged his empty grain silo. For how much he crowded up their home with throwaway relics, he preferred to keep his silo open and free. He only kept a sack of apple crates in there, coupled with an array of rolled up maps. Of course, Mrs. Overwet did not afford her husband's belongings any respect. As soon as he finished twitching, she kicked him into a shallow grave and nestled my sister into this tin home. And that is it. Thank you all so much.
Hi, everybody. My name is Linn. I'm reading to you from Carlisle, Massachusetts, where we have snow. I'm going to read a poem about spring, which we're all eagerly waiting for. It's called Green. I can't remember words. The nurse bent over my bed, fingers flat on my wrist, counting. But that day, dirt between my winter white toes, back from the woods and stream, green of bud break, the glacial crawl, leavings, ice scoured fragments, this ground, this slurry of time. Here, a swell, here, a run of sap, here, a smell of sweet damp. Those young years breathed green. Stone walls beckoned. I balanced precarious, one foot in front of the other. My hair blows behind me, then in my eyes. I squint into the sun, tip my head back on purpose to see through the scrim of leaves, dizzy pieces of sky and clouds, whisked like egg whites in my grandmother's beehive bowl from Ohio, toes curled inside my wet kids. Spades of skunk cabbage, peepers pitched call at dusk, father's prized cat's eye marble, mother's heirloom emerald, moss velvet of my best dress, and how louvered shutters make slices of sun on the pine floor each morning. I raise my arms, my hands hold the air, a wreath of all my years. Bent over the bed, the nurse listens for the heart, feels for the carotid pulse. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm Katie Manning, and I am reading from San Diego, where it is sunny and clear today. I showed the readers before we let everyone in, the blue sky with no clouds outside. So I'm going to read a poem, a prose poem from my chapbook 28,065 Nights, which was published by Riverglass Books. And after our 5-year anniversary reading, some of us were talking and we were joking about how Whale Road Review seems to really love grief and food, because so many of the works that people read were grief and food. So I decided to pick a piece that contained both grief and food. This collection is one that I wrote kind of to and about my granny after she passed away. So I'm going to read Which Way Do You Want to Go? But I have to read the title, Which Way Do You Want to Go? I ask this question more than you might think, mustering my best Muppet voice. And now my 4-year-old watches Labyrinth as I did at his age. And I am becoming you, shuffling around the kitchen in the same style of open-toed house slippers that you always wore, baking chocolate rolls or biscuits. Yes, which way? The blue hands insist on an answer. Sometimes I look down at my hands and see yours kneading the dough. I would choose this if I had a choice. Thank you.
Hi, Katie. Sorry, I thought I had unmuted there. Beautiful reading. I'm going to actually go with the food and grief poem here as well. I'm Kyle Potvin from New Hampshire. This is a poem that first appeared in Whale Road Review. It's called The Window of Joan of Arc, talks to the window of St. Anne. Rouen, France. Once we were women. Now we are stained window panes, crimson blood, blue fire. We flash in the morning sun. Come, let's descend, faire la bise like friends, kiss one cheek, then turn the other. I'll carry your basket to the marché, gather berries and greens, camembert and cider. We'll talk of God and grief. I burn with your loss. Before my time, after yours, the black shade was drawn. Tumors, spots, pus. Even a cat buried alive in the walls could not stop the onslaught. Listen to the crunch of bones beneath our feet. Oh plague, oh war, oh torment of innocence. In this flesh, I am not strong enough to survive more rising smoke. Are you? Thank you.
I'm Tania Pryputniewicz. I'm in San Diego too, actually Coronado, so across the Blue Bridge from Katie. I'm going to read a poem that's actually up right now at Bilingual Borderless. So it's been translated into Spanish, which is really lovely. So it's there in English and Spanish. And this is in honor of winter and grief. There's no food in this one. So this is called Snowflake Bentley, for Vermont's Wilson A. Bentley, 1865 to 1931, author of Snow Crystals. He waited hours in the open barn for the optimal chill, angle of light, and rate of snowfall needed to intercept each single snowflake on pitchforks time, in time to transfer from tip to swath of velvet. Then the rush to photograph, camera rigged to his microscope, pages of rows of white micrographs on black backdrop he called miracles of beauty, ice flowers, the first to venture no two snowflakes were the same. 2 weeks after Snow Crystals was published, walking in a blizzard, Bentley caught pneumonia and died. In his piano improvisations, Keith Jarrett returns to this over and over, two sounds alike, subtlety of wrist, soft pedal, and then none. His voice audible always, somewhere in the recording, weeping. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathryn Ross, and I am just outside of Los Angeles, California. It is also very sunny, but super cold in my house, so it doesn't really feel like I get to enjoy it. I am reading a poem I wrote last summer that is published in School Journal. It is called Fibromyalgia, and in parentheses, Perfect Storm. My bones are heavy for the 4th time this month. Great sacks of sand wrapped in flesh. I stand for a moment and wish to sit down. I lift a weight, run too many errands, feel too many feelings, and I am bedridden, sore and aching for a full day, and counting. I lie down and revive, gain a little back. I stand and energy slips through my skin like water through a sieve, soaking to the dirt where I cannot scoop it up, pour it into my mouth, hold it in my stomach. I don't hear from you anymore. I become lonely in my room, flipping through books and thinking too much about myself. Just outside, there's so much suffering that hasn't touched me, yet all I can see is how much is never enough. Each month, I become an open wound, stain the linen against my body. I curl into my covers, forehead to my knees. I try not to cry because nothing is new or wrong, just different from before. When it's bad, I think at least I'll sleep tonight, and maybe tomorrow I'll feel a little better. Later, I trace the lines beneath my eyes with my finger, moments after I've woken up in the dark. Thank you.
That was lovely. I am Kai Russell from Eastern Oregon, and I'm reading a piece that originally appeared in this anthology, which is the Feckless Cunt anthology. And I have rewritten the ending, so I thought I would read my new version of it, and it's called I'm Over Being Named. I'm sick of being named survivor, which sounds so intentional, like flint and steel in my pocket, a knife sharpened and sheathed, a canteen filled before the woods surrounded me. Like I knew what I was doing, like it wasn't just stumbling from thicket to bramble to muck to meadow and back. And I'm over being named victim, like my fingers inked the rings of the target swirled on my back, as if I committed myself to some hero's story. I am more than my suffering, but what am I without it? Sunset orange wrapped around my shoulders, warning hunters not to shoot as I shuffle these woods on any path that keeps me pinned to earth. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jacob Stratman, and I'm reading in Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas. I'd like to read a poem that first appeared in Well Road Review, and then it was a part of my book, What I Have, I Offer with Two Hands, which was in the Poema Poetry Series. And I guess it's fitting because we're getting ready for Ash Wednesday in just a couple weeks. So for my sons on Ash Wednesday. Our Lord of Misrule, this 5-year-old Falstaff, after too much root beer and chicken fries, wearing a Burger King crown and waning ash cross on his forehead, only the bottom of the vertical line now showing itself below the cardboard edge that slides down toward the arch of his nose, wonders aloud why he needs to give up anything for Lent, why he should have to love television, computer games, juice boxes, even cookies less. Then excuses himself from the table, walks to his room, with his crown now almost covering his eyes, rests his head on his bed, and whispers in sighs only the spirit can hear. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. Uneasily I lay my head beside his ashes, his dust, his waning cross and stained lips, his growing and groaning body broken with the weight that is all of him. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Heidi. I'm from Wymondham in the UK, and it's nighttime here. It's dark outside, and I'm going to be reading a poem that was in the fall issue of Whale Road Review in 2019. So it's about autumn, but it's been very autumnal here today, although we're meant to be edging towards spring. It's been rainy and misty and cold and dark all day. And the poem is also about renewal, which I guess we kind of all hope we're heading towards, albeit slowly at the moment. It's called Smoke. This time of year, smoke renews. From bonfires in unseen gardens. It flows grey-green across boundaries. My son is green in his knowledge, his uniform green, his love green-grey as unboundaried smoke. This time of year, his growth renews, just as autumn is throwing out hers. Done with spring, summer, done with holding up all those leaves, done holding on to each tiny seed. Smoke needn't be a warning. It can be an invitation. The homestead is within your scent. The hero in this poem throws invisible smoke bombs to exit a room mysteriously. From the school gates, I spy him on the open field. Then he's gone. Thank you.
Oh, Heidi, that one haunts me. It's so beautiful. It's so good to hear you read. Thank you all. That is the end of our reading. So many delicious and wonderful pieces that we got to hear today. Thank you to all of you who came to listen. We have a little time if you want to stick around and visit. I'm going to stay for a bit just to chat and soak up other human beings who aren't my family for a little while, even though I love them. It's nice to get to see some other faces too. I am going to stop the recording now. So thank you to anyone who's watching later, and goodbye.